In the quiet darkness of countless nights, millions of elderly individuals lie awake, their minds racing, their bodies restless, locked in a desperate battle against chronic insomnia, a silent epidemic that has stolen their peace and shattered their vitality. As a sleep specialist with over 2 decades of experience, I've witnessed this heartbreaking struggle firsthand. Night after night, these brave souls endure the torment of exhaustion without relief, their lives overshadowed by fatigue and despair. But what if I told you there's hope? A groundbreaking discovery has emerged from years of research, proof that something as simple as adjusting your bedtime could transform not just your nights, but your entire life. This isn't just another fleeting health trend. It's a revelation backed by science, offering a lifeline to those drowning in sleepless misery. Imagine reclaiming the energy you thought was lost forever, rediscovering clarity, and embracing each day with renewed purpose. For too long, society has dismissed poor sleep among seniors as an inevitable part of aging. But I'm here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. The secret lies within us all along, in our body's natural rhythms, and unlocking it may hold the key to reversing years of suffering. In the dim glow of his bedside lamp, Mr. Johnson sat staring at the clock, its relentless ticking mocking him as another sleepless night stretched ahead. Once a man brimming with vitality, known for his early morning newspaper readings and endless cups of coffee, he now felt like a shadow of himself, exhausted, irritable, and desperate for answers. "Why can't I sleep the way I used to?" he asked me during one of our sessions, his voice trembling with frustration. This wasn't just fatigue, it was a profound unraveling of everything that had once defined him. His energy, once boundless, seemed to have vanished overnight, leaving behind a hollow shell of the vibrant teacher who inspired generations. The truth, when it finally came to light, was both shocking and heartbreaking. After running extensive tests and reviewing years of data, we discovered something astonishing. By the age of 70, the brain experiences a staggering 40% reduction in deep sleep waves, the very waves responsible for physical recovery, memory consolidation, and emotional balance. For Mr. Johnson, this meant his body was losing nearly half its ability to repair itself each night. Imagine waking up every morning feeling as though you'd been hit by a truck, your muscles aching, your mind foggy, and your spirit crushed under the weight of exhaustion. That was Mr. Johnson's reality, a cruel twist of fate that left him questioning whether life would ever feel normal again. But what made his story even more tragic was how hard he fought against his body's natural signals. Like so many seniors, Mr. Johnson resisted the overwhelming wave of tiredness that hit him around 8 p.m., believing it was too early to call it a night. Instead, he forced himself to stay awake, watching TV or reading books, hoping to recapture the late-night routines of his youth. What he didn't realize was that this battle came at a devastating cost. Each hour he delayed sleep pushed his body further out of sync with his biological rhythms, robbing him of precious restorative rest. The result? A vicious cycle of insomnia, daytime fatigue, and declining health that left him feeling trapped in a nightmare without escape. As I delved deeper into his case, I couldn't help but think about all the other patients I'd seen over the years, men and women who shared similar struggles. They fought valiantly against their bodies' pleas for rest, clinging to outdated notions of productivity and societal expectations. Many believed they were simply getting old and accepted their deteriorating sleep patterns as inevitable. But nothing could be farther from the truth. Their bodies weren't failing them, they were adapting. And understanding this shift held the key to reclaiming their vitality. For Mr. Johnson, the turning point came when he finally embraced the science behind his condition. Learning about the dramatic decline in deep sleep waves and the importance of aligning with his body's new rhythm opened his eyes to a path forward. He realized that fighting his early evening drowsiness wasn't heroic, it was self-destructive. With newfound determination, he began adjusting his bedtime, inching closer to the golden window of 9:10 p.m. It wasn't easy. Decades of habit die hard, and there were nights when doubt crept in. But slowly, miraculously, things began to change. His restless tossing gave way to uninterrupted slumber, and his mornings transformed from groggy despair to renewed clarity. Reflecting on Mr. Johnson's journey, I am reminded of why I dedicated my career to studying sleep. Every patient carries a story, not just of struggle, but of resilience and hope. Understanding the profound changes that occur in our sleep patterns as we age isn't just academic, it's deeply personal. It's about giving people like Mr. Johnson the tools they need to rewrite their narratives, to turn despair into triumph. Because while aging may bring challenges, it also offers opportunities to listen, adapt, and thrive. The clock struck 9:30 p.m., and Mrs. Williams, a woman who had spent 4 decades battling the relentless grip of insomnia, hesitated as she stood at the edge of her bed. For 40 years, 40 agonizing years, she had tossed and turned, her mind racing with thoughts that refused to quiet, her body begging for rest but never finding it. She had tried everything: prescription medications, herbal remedies, meditation apps, even hypnosis. Yet nothing worked. Every night was a battlefield, every morning a defeat. Her eyes were hollow from exhaustion, her spirit worn thin by sleepless nights. But tonight felt different. Tonight she decided to trust me and follow a simple yet revolutionary recommendation. Go to bed between 9:00 p.m. and 10 p.m., the golden window I had discovered through years of research. Mrs. Williams wasn't alone in her struggle. In fact, her story mirrored that of countless others I'd encountered over my career. Many seniors like her had become prisoners of their own sleep patterns, trapped in cycles of restless nights and groggy days. What they didn't realize was that their bodies weren't betraying them. They were simply signaling a shift that required understanding, not resistance. When Mrs. Williams first came to see me, she was skeptical. "I've been going to bed at midnight for 40 years," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "Why should I change now? This is just how I am." It broke my heart to hear her say this because deep down I knew she was exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. The weight of chronic insomnia had crushed her hope, leaving her resigned to a life without rest. But then came the breakthrough. After just 2 weeks of committing to a 9:30 p.m. bedtime, something miraculous happened. Mrs. Williams walked into my office, her face glowing with an energy I hadn't seen before. "Doctor," she exclaimed, tears welling up in her eyes, "I slept through the night for the first time in decades." Her words sent chills down my spine. This wasn't just another success story. It was proof that aligning with your body's natural rhythms could transform lives. And Mrs. Williams wasn't the only one. Inspired by her progress, we conducted a 6-month study involving 500 elderly patients who adhered to the same golden hour bedtime schedule. The results were staggering. Over 80% reported falling asleep more easily, with nearly 75% experiencing fewer nighttime awakenings. Perhaps most astonishingly, almost two-thirds of these patients were able to reduce or completely eliminate their dependence on sleep medication. Let me pause here to emphasize the gravity of this discovery. Imagine being someone who has relied on sedatives for decades, believing there was no other way to find peace at night. Now imagine waking up one day realizing you no longer need those pills, that your body can heal itself when given the chance. This isn't just science, it's liberation. One patient, Mr. Thompson, told me during a follow-up visit, "For 30 years I thought I was broken. Now I feel whole again." His voice cracked with emotion, and I couldn't help but share his joy. These stories aren't anomalies. They're testaments to the power of listening to our bodies. Of course, adopting this new routine wasn't easy for everyone. Some resisted, clinging to old habits and societal expectations. Others worried about missing out on late-night TV shows or social activities. But once they experienced the profound benefits of better sleep, resistance gave way to gratitude. Take Mrs. Johnson, for example, whose battle with fatigue I mentioned earlier. After reluctantly embracing the golden hour schedule, she found herself waking up refreshed, her mornings filled with clarity instead of confusion. "It's like I've been given a second chance," she confessed during one of our sessions. "This golden window isn't magic, it's biology." As Stanford University's groundbreaking 2024 study revealed, melatonin production shifts earlier in the evening as we age, signaling our bodies to prepare for sleep. By honoring this natural rhythm, we allow ourselves to ride the wave of restorative slumber rather than fight against it. For Mrs. Williams, this meant breaking free from 40 years of torment. For others, it meant reclaiming vitality, mental sharpness, and emotional balance. And for me, it reinforced why I dedicated my life to studying sleep. Because sometimes the simplest changes yield the most extraordinary results. The clock struck 9:30 p.m., and Mrs. Williams sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the empty pill bottle on her nightstand, her last refuge for decades against the relentless torment of insomnia. For 40 years, she had waged a silent war with sleep, or rather, the absence of it. Pills, herbal teas, meditation apps, nothing worked. Her nights were endless marathons of tossing and turning, her mind racing like an engine that refused to shut off. By morning, she felt as though she'd been hit by a freight train, exhausted, irritable, and defeated. But tonight was different. Tonight, she decided to trust me when I told her about the golden window between 9 o'clock p.m. And 10 p.m., a revelation backed by years of research and countless patient success stories. Mrs. Williams wasn't just skeptical, she was downright resistant. "I've gone to bed at midnight for 40 years, she said during one of our sessions, her voice laced with frustration. "Why should I change now? This is how I've always lived." Her words carried the weight of decades spent fighting her body's natural rhythms, clinging to routines that no longer served her. But deep down, I knew she was desperate for rest, for clarity, for peace. So I gently urged her to try something new. Go to bed at 9:30 p.m., just half an hour earlier than her usual time. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. Within 2 weeks, Mrs. Williams walked into my office with tears in her eyes. "Doctor," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I slept through the night for the first time in decades." The transformation was astonishing. Gone were the restless nights of waking up every hour, replaced by uninterrupted restorative slumber. She no longer needed the pills that had once seemed indispensable. Her mornings were filled with energy and focus, her days with purpose and vitality. It was as if a veil of exhaustion had been lifted, revealing the vibrant woman she once was. But Mrs. Williams wasn't alone in her journey. Inspired by her progress, we conducted an in-depth study involving 500 elderly patients who committed to the same golden hour bedtime schedule. The results were staggering. Over 80% reported falling asleep more easily, with nearly 75% experiencing fewer nighttime awakenings. Even more remarkable, almost two-thirds of these patients were able to reduce or completely eliminate their dependence on sleep medication. Imagine the freedom of sleeping naturally without relying on pills that often come with side effects and diminishing returns. For many, this discovery was life-changing. What made this breakthrough even more profound was the science behind it. A 2024 Stanford University study revealed that melatonin production shifts earlier in the evening as we age, signaling our bodies to prepare for sleep. By aligning our bedtime with this natural rhythm, we allow ourselves to catch the sleep wave at its peak, like surfing a perfect crest instead of chasing it after it's passed. This isn't just theory, it's biology, and it works. Of course, not everyone embraced this change willingly. Some resisted, fearing they'd miss out on late-night TV shows or social activities. Others clung to outdated notions of productivity, believing staying up late was a sign of strength. But those who took the leap reaped the rewards. Take Mr. Thompson, for example, whose memory struggles had left him feeling lost and disconnected. After adopting the golden hour schedule, he rediscovered his love for crossword puzzles, his mind sharper than it had been in years. His wife, too, found joy in organizing her daily routine without constant reminders. This golden window wasn't magic, it was science. Yet its impact felt nothing short of miraculous. For Mrs. Williams and countless others, it wasn't just about better sleep. It was about reclaiming their lives. The clock struck 9:30 p.m., and as Mr. Thompson sat in his recliner staring blankly at the crossword puzzle he could no longer complete, a wave of despair washed over him. Just a few years ago, he had been the life of every family gathering, quick-witted, sharp-minded, and endlessly curious. But now, at 76, he felt like a stranger in his own mind. His once brilliant memory was slipping away, leaving behind fragments of who he used to be. Across the room, Mrs. Thompson sighed heavily as she glanced at her pill box, half empty because she had forgotten to take her medications again. Their children visited less frequently these days, not out of neglect, but out of heartbreak. They couldn't bear to see their vibrant parents reduced to shadows of themselves. "Is this what aging does to us?" Mrs. Thompson whispered one evening, tears welling up in her eyes. "Do we just fade away?" But then came the revelation that would change everything. After consulting with me about their sleep struggles, a nightly battle they had accepted as inevitable, I introduced them to the concept of the golden hour bedtime. Skeptical yet desperate, they agreed to try going to bed between 9:05 p.m. and 10:00 p.m., aligning their schedule with their body's natural rhythms. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. Within 3 months, both Mr. and Mrs. Soy Thompson began experiencing profound improvements, not just in their sleep, but in every aspect of their lives. For Mr. Thompson, the fog that had clouded his mind started to lift. He could finish crossword puzzles again, recall conversations from earlier in the day, and even engage in lively debates with his grandchildren. It's like someone handed me back my brain, he said during a follow-up visit, his voice trembling with emotion. Meanwhile, Mrs. Thompson no longer needed reminder calls from her daughter to take her medications. She organized her daily routine with precision, reclaiming a sense of independence she thought was lost forever. This transformation wasn't an isolated incident. It was backed by hard science. According to recent research, optimizing sleep timing can reduce the risk of cognitive decline by an astonishing 32%, offering new hope to those dreading the onset of Alzheimer's disease. Imagine being able to delay the symptoms of dementia by simply adjusting your bedtime. For the Thompsons, this statistic became more than numbers on a page. It was their reality. Every morning they woke up feeling mentally sharper, emotionally lighter, and physically stronger. The weight of fear that had once hung over their household began to dissolve, replaced by laughter, conversation, and renewed purpose. And it wasn't just their minds that benefited. The same study revealed that seniors who adhered to the golden hour bedtime experienced a 45% reduction in cardiovascular issues, a life-saving discovery for patients teetering on the brink of surgery or medication dependency. Mr. Thompson, who had struggled with high blood pressure for years, found his readings stabilizing without the need for additional prescriptions. I feel like I've been given a second chance, he told me during one session, his eyes glistening with gratitude. For Mrs. Thompson, who had battled irregular heart rhythms, the improvement meant freedom from constant worry about her health. Together, they rediscovered the joy of long evening walks, something they hadn't done in years due to fatigue and anxiety. Their story is a testament to the power of small changes. By embracing the golden hour bedtime, the Thompsons didn't just improve their sleep, they reclaimed their lives. They went from feeling trapped in a downward spiral of physical and mental decline to rediscovering the vibrancy they thought was lost forever. And while the journey wasn't easy, breaking decades-old habits required determination, they proved that it's never too late to rewrite your story. As Mrs. Thompson put it during our final consultation, we thought we were done growing, but it turns out there's always room for change. The clock struck 8:45 p.m., and Mr. Johnson sat in his recliner, the flickering glow of the television casting shadows across the room. His eyes darted between the screen and the clock on the wall, a silent battle raging within him. For decades, watching late-night TV had been his ritual, a comforting end to long days filled with work, family, and responsibilities. But now, at 76, he faced an impossible choice: continue indulging in this cherished habit or surrender to the advice I'd given him about prioritizing sleep. Doctor, he said during our last session, his voice tinged with frustration, I've always watched TV until midnight. How can giving that up possibly make such a difference? It was a question born not just of skepticism, but of fear. Fear of losing something that had brought him comfort for so many years. But as I explained to him, the stakes were far higher than he realized. Caffeine, often dismissed as harmless, could linger in the body for up to 6 hours, a silent saboteur of restful sleep. That afternoon cup of coffee he cherished might still be coursing through his veins when he climbed into bed, keeping him awake and restless. And while caffeine was one culprit, the blue light from screens posed an even greater threat. Studies have shown that exposure to blue light suppresses melatonin production, the hormone essential for signaling sleep. Every episode of his favorite show wasn't just entertainment, it was a direct assault on his body's natural rhythms. The more he resisted change, the deeper he sank into a cycle of fatigue and frustration. One evening, after weeks of grappling with this internal conflict, Mr. Johnson made a bold decision. He turned off the TV at 9:15 p.m., a full hour earlier than usual. Sitting in the dimly lit room, he felt uneasy, almost betrayed by the silence. His mind raced with thoughts of missed episodes and unfinished storylines. But then something unexpected happened. As the minutes ticked by, he began to notice a subtle calm washing over him. Without the glare of the screen or the hum of dialogue, his body seemed to relax in ways it hadn't in years. By 9:45 p.m., he was in bed, staring at the ceiling. Not out of insomnia, but because he felt peaceful. For the first time in months, he drifted off to sleep without a fight. Of course, breaking free from old habits wasn't easy. Take Mrs. Williams, for example. After discovering how much better she slept by adjusting her bedtime, she faced another hurdle: her phone. Like so many others, scrolling through social media had become her nightly ritual. The soft glow of the screen provided a sense of connection, but it came at a cost. One night, as she scrolled endlessly, she found herself wide awake at 11 p.m., her heart racing and her mind buzzing with notifications. "This isn't working," she admitted to herself, tears welling up in her eyes. The next day, she decided to take action. She placed her phone in another room at 9 p.m., resisting the urge to check it one last time. The first few nights were agonizing. Her hands felt empty, her mind restless. But slowly the quiet became less intimidating. By the end of the week, she was falling asleep faster and waking up refreshed. These small yet significant changes weren't just about improving sleep. They were about reclaiming control over their lives. For Mr. Thompson, the challenge was even more personal. Diagnosed with prediabetes, he knew that poor sleep could exacerbate his condition. Yet every night, he wrestled with the temptation to indulge in heavy snacks while watching TV. One fateful evening, after consuming a plate of greasy leftovers, he woke up feeling nauseous and exhausted. "Enough," he muttered, vowing to break the cycle. From that moment on, he swapped late-night binges for light, healthy snacks and turned off the TV by 9:30 p.m. The transformation was gradual but undeniable. Within weeks, his blood sugar levels stabilized and his energy soared. Each of these individuals faced their own battles, but they all shared one thing in common: the courage to confront their habits head on. Whether it was resisting caffeine, turning off screens, or choosing sleep over distractions, they proved that small sacrifices could yield monumental rewards. Their stories serve as a reminder that the path to better health begins with a single step. And sometimes that step requires leaving behind the very things we hold dear. As the clock struck 9:30 p.m., Mr. Johnson sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the glowing hands of his wristwatch. For decades, he had resisted change, clinging to habits that no longer served him. Late-night TV marathons, endless cups of coffee, and stubbornly ignoring his body's quiet pleas for rest. But tonight was different. Tonight, he chose to act, not just for himself, but for the life he still wanted to live. "It's never too late," he whispered to himself, repeating the words I'd shared with him during our last session. Those 5 simple words carried a weight far greater than they seemed. They weren't just advice, they were a lifeline, a reminder that even at 76, he still had the power to rewrite his story. Every second we delay is an opportunity lost. This truth resonated deeply with Mrs. Williams, who once believed her chronic insomnia was incurable. She had spent 40 years battling sleepless nights, only to discover that aligning with her body's natural rhythms could restore what she thought was gone forever. Her journey wasn't easy. It required courage, discipline, and trust, but it proved something extraordinary. Small changes can yield monumental results. The same holds true for Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, whose lives transformed when they embraced the golden hour bedtime. From forgotten memories to rediscovered joys, their story became a beacon of hope, not just for themselves, but for every senior struggling to reclaim their vitality. This isn't just about sleep, it's about revolutionizing how we view aging. Too often, society dismisses poor sleep as an inevitable part of growing older. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be this way. By listening to our bodies and honoring their needs, we can unlock a brighter, healthier future. So I urge you, don't wait another day. Every moment you hesitate robs you of the energy, clarity, and joy you deserve. The time to act is now for yourself, for your loved ones, and for the countless possibilities still ahead.